Hello, kind folks, community, creatives out there. Hello, welcome to RPG with DBJ. This week, we are going to deep dive into even more characters from Game of Thrones. What can we take, what can we steal, and add to our tabletop role-playing games? You do not need to either know who the characters are or even be a fan of who they are, but we can always find something to steal from them. And as was pointed out, because of course we are in the last season of Game of Thrones, there's only 6 episodes left. Dead Man the Storyteller says 2 episodes in and nobody's dead. With a bunch of additional punctuation, I think should be added to that. It's like, what? This is Game of Thrones. Like people die on the norm, but we're not going to get into that or the spoilers. Although, hell, if we went from role-playing games to spoiler talk, that would definitely be a different show, and I'm sure we get a whole different type of community involved in it. But that being said, what are we going to do this week? Well, because we are celebrating kind of the end of 2 extremely large, come here, kitty, 2 extremely large and popular intellectual properties. Of course, Avengers Endgame movies coming up this weekend here in the States, and Game of Thrones is already into their 2nd episode. That's why we're doing this. Well, this week, strangely enough, we're going to be doing a collection of what I think are some interesting secondary characters. Many of them are already dead, so there's no spoilers involved in that. And to an extent, some of them are there's a running theme between many of them. A lot of them are plain speakers. And so why secondary or even tertiary characters? Like, why even bother? I think some of them have some unique qualities to them and something I think we can learn and use and steal for ideas for our tabletop games. Rickard says, I'm here, but I'm weary as we just got the 2nd episode in Swedenland. Strangely enough, in a global setting, the media doesn't release things equally, but that's unfortunate. I think one day it'll become closer to all of us receiving the same information at the same time, or at least corporations catching up to the fact that we share information instantly at the same time. So yeah. Rickard says, so I will come and find you if you spoil episode 2. Dude, I believe you. Yeah, no problem. Zephyron says, who on earth is Davos? Why can I not remember him? All right. Yeah, Rickard. I love that. Wow. I love that little emoticon. I love that, dude. I got to cut and paste that. I got to make a t-shirt about that. Like, so I will come and find you if you spoil anything from episode 2. T-shirt. Yeah. All right. Zevron says, well, who on earth is Davos and why can I not remember him? All right, let's get into it. All right, so here is a summary of Davos Seaworth, or let's go through some of the monikers for Davos. Davos is also known as the Onion Knight, Davos Shorthand, Davos the Smuggler, Davos of Flea Bottom, Knight of the Onion Ship, Sir Onion, and the Onion Lord, and that's just to name a few. So Davos is an older gentleman who is missing the first digits off of one hand. I don't know whether it's right or his left hand, but he's missing the finger, the first digits off of his finger. Davos is an older gentleman, illiterate. At the time, he was illiterate and was known as a smuggler. And, you know, in Westeros, you have the 7 kingdoms and royal families and all the intricacies of the nobles above board, but he was known as a smuggler. Ricker says, Onion Ship, Onion Lord, what was Gurm smoking? Yeah, George R. Martin, yeah, oh man. Tesla Ranger says it was his right hand, he's left-handed. So his right hand, the gentleman's left-handed, so they cut off Stannis Baratheon. Stannis. I love the way they pronounce these names and stuff. Oh, I love those accents. Anyway, Stannis Baratheon cut off the fingers, the tips of the first digit of each finger of his right hand. Why? And why the onion ship? Why the smuggling thing? Well, during a great battle with the noble family, House Baratheon, Stannis Baratheon was trapped. In essence, there was a barricade. His men could not get out, but no one could get in at them, and so they barricaded themselves in during this battle. But one tactic to use in battle is to starve people out. So to rescue them, Davos decided, his name isn't Sir Davos yet, Davos the smuggler decided that to raise his station in life, this was a risk because he was a criminal. So he took a ship filled with actually onions and salted fish. Most people forget that he had the salted fish on there, but the onion part is kind of like a little nod, wink, joke a little bit. So he gets this ship, he smuggles it in because he's a great, not only just a ship's captain, but he knows all the little ins and outs of smuggling things back and forth. Of course, something doesn't necessarily need to be illegal, but it's hey, one person doesn't want you to get it somewhere and someone else wants to receive that item, and you just happen to be the middleman. He happens to be the middleman. He sneaks the onions and salted fish to his men. They're able to eat. With them being able to eat, they're not starved out. They were able to survive long enough for another character, Ned Stark of House Stark, to come in, rescue them, have the battle, and then Stannis Baratheon was saved. Well, word gets out. Word spreads by the men, by the soldiers. Usually that's how these titles even come about. And he was granted a knighthood for saving his men. This is a man from the Flea Bottom. Generally in the game in Westeros, people that do not have a royal lineage have one name. They have a first name. They really don't have a family name attached to them, unless that family name has to do with whatever their job is. You know, if you build things with wood, your last name is probably carpenter. If you made things out of metal, your last name is probably smith. Well, he didn't have a last name, so he was knighted and given a small little, very extremely minor noble lineage, and so he became Sir Davos, and his sigil became the onion, and kind of as almost a joke. And the character actually wears a pouch around his neck that holds the little digits that were cut off from his fingers, and so. Despite the fact that he was punished, he was also granted land, and by being granted land and being knighted and becoming a minor noble, his family rose up from that ordeal, and so he felt it was a pretty good trade-off. Having somebody hack off the tips of your fingers is probably pretty bad. I'm pretty sure they may have had to use pliers or something. It's pretty nasty. I can't imagine just using a single sword swing, but whatever the case may be, he thought it would help him out. So Rickard says, "All hail Lord Onion, captain of the onion ship, the true onion of the seas." Yeah. So everyone says, I hear Onion Knight and I think of Dark Souls. Sigmire of Katarina, he wore giant rounded armor like an onion, unintentionally by developers. Oh, yeah, like the onion, the layers of onions and peels. And the fandom dubbed him Onion Knight, Onion Bro. Yeah. Now, what's cool about first of all, the acting, the gentleman, what is the actor's name? It's in here. Liam Cunningham. Liam Cunningham plays Davos excellently, or Sir Davos excellently. I mean, he's an older gentleman, and he sees things for what they are. He's a very pragmatic character. Despite having a little bit of a religious bent to him, he pretty much sees things for what they are. When people lie, he sees through those lies. He sees machinations, even if he's not familiar with the individual's background. Him being a smuggler, I'm sure, had a lot to do with the fact that everybody has a price. Everybody wants something. And so this character is extremely perceptive, especially when it comes to human perception. Also, I think something else that really strikes me with the character, and this is going to be seen really minor, but he's an older character. Often when it comes to PCs, NPCs, adversaries, and such, we tend to relegate older with knowledgeable and more or less like a scholarly, sagely, maybe an elder statesman kind of individual that's a little bit older. And in a world of World of Ice and Fire, being older is a rarity. Most people don't live far beyond I'm sure they're in this medieval world past their 40s, maybe 50s even. Very few characters are older and not having suffered for the years that they have for themselves. Everyone's going on talking about the Segmeier character. He was a badass that loved to charge the battle, but he isn't the smartest. He does make some puns though. Sees fire demon. I could talk to him. He's way overheated. That's so stupid. But yeah. Davos isn't this specific character doesn't make too many puns, but he's a pretty he's got a lot of great one-liners. Not so much on the level of Braun, who's going to be coming up later this week, but he's up there. He drops a lot of knowledge actually, and so it's pretty interesting that you have this character who's very knowledgeable and very sage-like isn't wrapped in the stereotypical trappings of someone like that. Rickard says an older character and not shown to be an amazing fighter at that. How he survived that long, I don't know. Yeah, if you want to talk about diplomancers, the type of character that is able to survive by talking their way out of something, it's definitely Davos. Davos is not first of all, he's not a warrior. Like Rickard said, he's not a warrior. He's not known for his blade craft, not known for, using a bow or some kind of weapon, not known for having defeated enemies in battle. But his reputation precedes him. I mean, he's a smuggler. And when we know that whenever there's conflict across any kind of border, there's also trade. Black market trading just skyrockets when you have two communities that are at war with each other and hate each other. There's always a group of people that are like, listen, you guys got chocolate, we've got cauliflower or something. You guys got lima beans, we've got sneakers. You guys got cell phones. We've got comic books. One of us wants something, the other one has it. Somebody's got to figure out a way to get the things across borders. And so he's been able to capitalize on that, for good or bad. On one hand, when you need him, he's your best friend. On the other hand, maybe not. So I'm thinking because Davos tends to flow into the NPC realm. He's pretty capable individual. Sailor, able to talk to people both highborn and lowborn, able to perceive the right and wrong of a situation pretty deftly. Now he may not be an expert at it in terms of living in the courts, but he probably has extremely high sense of survival. Like, even when things are going well, he probably is just someone who says something's wrong with the situation. It's taking too long. He probably has a very honed sense of being able to perceive things, even when they seem fine to everyone else, that the situation is going bad and, hey, we may need to back out or offer more money or offer, more bribes or maybe even threats or wait a few days just to make sure things are going well. Rickard says, diplomancer, that often overlooked class. Yeah, he's another character that talks his way out of problems. Zevron says, class is a luxury, and luxury provides higher chance of living past midlife crisis. Yeah, it sure does. There we go. He says, Zephyr goes on to say, I have an image now of a paladin, a high-ranking soldier in the army or as a member of the Warriors Guild, and he reveals he was a petty thief growing up. He knows the plights of the people. And that's something that's very interesting, I find, with the Davos character, because he's this blend of criminal. He's literally physically punished. So um, in the more medieval types of role-playing games, you have people who are punished, whether they have a limb removed, or they're branded or blinded, or they're forced to wear something around their neck. They are the public sees their crimes publicly, yet this character is a knight. Like, he's been knighted and he's got lands. He's a minor noble, which is kind of crazy to have both of those mixed in with one character. And honestly, he starts out in the television show, because I'm more or less referring to that, as illiterate and learns to read. So even that character trait, despite him being brilliant, having a brilliant economic survival mind, this is a person who's, well, illiterate and still able to navigate in this world. So it's pretty cool. Rickard says, NPC, I would have him as a follower. He can do minor stuff, but he's able to survive, able to save the PCs if things go south. And I love that as well. Like I said before, you guys are probably thinking the same way I am. Davos makes a great NPC. I mean, he's never going to outshine the players in battle, but he's got a lot of skills. He can sneak in. He can save players when they need to be saved. Especially if let's say you're playing a sailing, ocean-bound, archipelago, water island hopping scenario. He makes a great character who is able to say, hey guys, I'll stay by the ship. You guys go on the island and do the adventuring. I'll stay by the ship and I'll look out for a sign that you need to escape or something. And so if the players end up, I don't know, on the other side of the island, what a great excuse. He's like, oh, I figured you'd be over here, or I saw a flare go up, or I heard commotion, or I caught word, so I decided to be here and wait just on the off chance you'd be on the beach or something. But a person who predicts the future without seeming like they are like an oracle or something, just by his skills. Zev says he knows how to talk to them as an equal. He understands hunger and why you may steal food, and his pasts help him route out black market lines. Goes to say, oh God, imagine a paladin smite plus sneak attack. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty nasty. But this is a character who blends both of those worlds, and you're like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. That actually makes sense. Rickard says, not sure if you look at the average lifespan of nobles who played Game of Thrones, talking about the lifespan of living in luxury. Yeah. I suppose in the Game of Thrones, natural causes is assassination. So everyone says, I have extra attack with your smite and backstab. Yeah, your sneak attack. Yeah. So what I sometimes I feel like, and I think Davos really takes like you guys are talking to chat with paladin and maybe being a rogue at the exact same time, dichotomies where here's a character who normally in a normal setting would be young, like a pirate or some kind of roguish thief or something or whatever, but instead he's an older gentleman, and instead of being well versed around the world and being very learned, because of all the experiences, he's illiterate. And here's a person who's been punished because he's been a smuggler, but he's also been knighted. And some of us go through many different walks in our lifetime, and some of us have a plan in our head when we're 8 years old, and we live that plan to the end of time. And then other times things are thrown our way, opportunities are thrown our way, and a huge change happens in someone's life. And this is an individual where a big change happened in their life. And what a great way to grow an NPC. Even if, let's say that the players meet a smuggler, leave for a couple of adventures, come back and find out this smuggler has been granted lands and is knighted. I mean, that could be a possibility too. Your NPCs can grow as well. So that's something else I wanted to bring up. Like, oftentimes our NPCs tend to be the same. So a farmer is a farmer when the PCs come back to town. The bar wench is the bar wench. The bully in the bar is still the bully. The city guard is still the city guard. But there's nothing wrong with having a character grow. Not every single one. We don't need to write down a timeline for the small messenger boy losing his tooth, and the farmer getting a disease and losing his leg, or the city guard getting gambling debts and being beaten up in an alleyway, but was afraid to say something. Despite me bringing up these things, you can add them in. You don't need to add them for every NPC, but having a few changes might just make things grow, especially if they are family and friends of the PCs. A PC that has a brother or sister that's going through something. Maybe they're going to school and they flunk out or whatever, or there's a brother or sister in a major battle and they're severely wounded or granted a great honor, or both. Rickard says he's the fixer for the PCs. They need info, he can get it. They need items, he knows who to talk to. They need help fighting something, he'll find someone else to help them. Yeah. And of course, remember, he's not solving the situation. He's like, oh, PCs need information. Hey, guess what? Talk to this person. And then again, the PCs have to do all that. They make the die rolls. They make the decisions. So you're not necessarily taking away their agency. It's a great character so that there's no analysis paralysis in the group, right? The PCs are like, what are we going to do? Davos pokes his, half hand up, is like, I know a person you could speak to. I can take you there in my ship and take you behind sneak you into this land has soldiers on the borderline or something like that, and I can sneak you in, but I'll wait back here. I'm not a fighter, and then the players are like, oh, I know what we can do. Yeah, that makes a great idea. And then that's just a great motivator to keep the story moving with an NPC that's not going to overtake everything, especially if you want to run a game where, let's say, most of the characters are fighters, or most of the characters are like wizards or something, right? And even though Davos isn't a warrior, he represents like, oh, I've got some skills that helps you sneak around, even though all you guys are fighters or barbarians or something. As everyone says, hell, a rogue multi-classed paladin would be a fun character to play. Maybe you're an Oath of Redemption paladin, assassin rogue. You try to work to redeem your actions and earn your pardon that was given to you to prove that you deserve this new chance at life. You have that conflict of not wanting to hurt people, but being really good at it and intimidating. That would be an amazing conflict. I love that idea. And again, most people, when you write that idea out and someone says, hey, I got this great idea, I'm going to play, an Oath of Redemption paladin, assassin rogue. Most people are like, you can't play that. Why not? And who's to say that the character doesn't do one or the other, right? It doesn't mean one skill set doesn't preclude the other, and it also doesn't preclude the personality. So let's flow into a player character. I'm sorry. Rickers is basically becoming the trigger for the PC contacts in a way, which I like as an NPC. And also says, I also get a feeling that Davos has a healthy helping of, I'm too old for this shit. Yeah. Definitely, the medieval version, the Westerosi version of I'm not going to get in a fight. I'm too old for this. Yeah. What a 80s 90s buddy cop trope. The young maverick cop detective and the older one that's I'm about to retire in 3 days, but I'm going to go on this big adventure. Right? He's definitely that kind of character, and what a perfect excuse for the character to run with the player characters. Let's say we're going to get to him being a PC, but as an NPC, let's say you wanted to introduce this person as a cleric, and you're like, well, I wanted to put a healer in there, but I don't want him overtaking everything. Maybe he's like, look, I'm too old. I can't run after you guys. You're going to have to come back to me. So yeah, I can heal your wounds, but you better drag your friends through the jungle or through the city or down into the sewer system or something. I'm going to wait back here, which also can ramp up the tension too, especially if a player character is injured and you have adequate healing available, but it's 3 miles away, right? Um, Ricker says he'll help the players, but he'll grumble about having to do stuff the whole time. Damn it, you guys! You're always dragging me into danger. I should be sitting on my farm right about now, right? Zevran says, well, if they want to be rules lawyer, Oath of Redemption does say most people that archetype for Paladin were former bandits, assassins, and cutthroats that seek redemption. You know what? You're absolutely right. And those constant arguments of where people pick on Paladins, the minute the Paladin sneaks around and poisons someone or cuts someone's throat in shadows, someone's going to go, you can't do that. Oh, you're a Paladin, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but for me, if I was a dungeon master, game master, I would rather, instead of having the argument and saying no, which is always a hard stop, it's like say yes and then deal with the consequences of it, right? It's the, boy, I'm really good at killing, like you said, Zev, I'm really good at killing people, but I don't want to do it anymore. But if innocent people are being hurt, why wouldn't that person? It's John Wick, right? It's the, I'm going to pull out the stops, and it's your fault you brought me back into the fold. So yeah. Rickard says, quote, you young whippersnappers, who do you think you are talking to? Hold on, I got to do old man's voice. Hey, you young whippersnappers, who do you think you're talking to? I want to stay right here in this temple, have some more arrow traps pointed at me. Think you know how to count? Get off my lawn, damn wizards. French toast. So Zev says, look, a paladin is not infallible. Their goal in life is to aspire to be an exemplar of humanity and kindness. They can fail, they can stumble, they can have that sliver of blackness, as long as, and I'm sure you're going to continue on with that one, as long as they stand back up and attempt to pray for forgiveness and make an attempt at redemption. And Zev, you point out something that I think so many people forget. It's not the act of performing something evil or vile or deceptive or whatever, lying or stealing. It is the guilt. It is the redemption arc that comes about it, right? It's not a paladin in a group traveling with an evil assassin that's the problem. It is, does the paladin turn themselves into their order at the end of the adventure? Like, yes, I did these wrong things, and oh, by the way, here are my hands, give me shackles, I committed a crime, or the killing of a number of people to save the villagers, and then going to the villagers and going, listen, guys, I did the wrong thing. That's the story of the 47 Ronin, right? Hey, we broke our vows to kill an evil warlord, and then at the end of it, in their own culture, they're like, listen, yeah, we're going to commit ritual suicide. We did wrong. And so that push and pull, that tug, is something that I think would be a great character arc, and especially if you take into maybe some of the die rolls, like let's say, for example, the character tries to sneak attack someone and fails. So then the next time an opportunity comes up, the player's like, hey, you sneak around the back. And he's like, no. Something just tells me that I shouldn't be doing this any longer. And then maybe they try to smite an enemy and that fails. And they're like, yeah, I hate going back to my old ways, but I'm going to have to, and then combining them together. Yeah, Deadman says there is a John Wick 3 coming shortly. Of course, John Wick 3, Parabellum. Absolutely. Which again, another character who's done plenty of evil. We forget that we're on John Wick's side, but he's got a death toll prior to the movies against not only criminals but innocent individuals that we aren't giving them credit. But we're on the redemption arc of this character. So yeah, John Wick 3, can't wait. Katanas on horseback and motorcycles, and yeah. Yeah. Zeron says the paladin tries to help the assassin learn that there's another way, or directing them to using their skills in a more legitimate way, like spec ops for an army, defender of the nation, etc. Rickard says PC Bard. Yeah, he became Davos became Stannis Baratheon's right hand man. I'm sure had Stannis Baratheon survived, he might have become Hand of the King. So yeah, Rickard says support and face spec. I'm with you on that. I think he makes a great character that does that. He most of his interactions in the Game of Thrones is about giving his opinion about a situation, whether someone listens to him or not. And, almost like the angel on the shoulder kind of character. Like, I don't think you should put your daughter, burn your daughter alive for the red god, but, the god, the Lord of Light. But okay, I told you not to do that. Or, well, he didn't. That's not an exact thing that happened, but you get my point. Yeah, he offers a lot of information, and that absolutely translates to a bard. A bard. We often think of bards with music and entertainment, but that you got to think outside the box on that, way beyond those tight restrictions. A bard says words of encouragement to people, and then they do better in their lives. So he could very much be like, say things like, "Oh, stay to the left when you go past the castle walls," or remember that when the sun sets or something, there are more guards on the streets or what have you, or carry a change purse. Coin always smooths over any danger or something like that, right? But Zevron says that's probably one of the darkest things I've said in a while. Yeah, but true, right? Very true. So Davos is, like we said, he's a dichotomy of like a criminal and a knight. He has a family. He's older. He begins the show being illiterate and learns to read. And in another weird way, he's a character who, he's a genius character who grew up in a harsh lifestyle, meaning like, this character would have been brilliant if given the proper opportunities. So again, when sometimes in a vacuum, sometimes it might not make sense, for example, to add, hey, I'm playing a rogue, but I'm going to add a level of wizard, or I'm playing a paladin, I'm going to add a level of assassin or something. Oftentimes it may not make sense in a vacuum, but in the course of the storyline, here's a character who is a smuggler. Let's go very, very basic with this. He's a smuggler. So sure, he could be a swashbuckler rogue if you really want to go that specific, right? But he's given the opportunity to save this noble, and when he saves the noble and the noble knights him, maybe that's an opportunity to start taking levels of a paladin or fighter or something of that nature. Probably not fighter, but whatever the case may be, within the context of the story, as a PC, makes perfect sense within this storyline to take those levels and to get those skills or abilities or something. And whereas in a vacuum, someone may look at that character and go, that doesn't make any sense. How can he be a knight with a criminal background? Well, it makes perfect sense in the life lessons in this character. So Ricker says it's hard to get a good class as he's not a fighter per se. Exactly. And of course, depending on the game you're playing, Dungeons and Dragons isn't really the best rules set to really encompass someone who talks their way out of problems without going straight bard. But again, the Dungeon Master's Guide has like honor rules and renown rules. You can use those. There's a possibility that maybe you might want to make up your own rules set as far as gaining and losing things, using like bribery, threats, deceptions, diplomacy, something like that. Maybe it could be a point system, or just as you have physical hit points, maybe you have some kind of mental social hit points, maybe your charisma stat or something like that. You can always find something at your own table and come up with your own house rules. Like, okay, we want to have a little more granularity in this. So when you call in a favor, you lose a point, but when you do something good or you do something in favor for someone else, that person becomes an ally and measure it that way. Rickard says, given the diplomancer and smuggler nature, I would want to go charisma, but then again, background kind of solves that more. Yeah, I mean, and it of course it depends on which spotlight you want to pull in, right? Do you want to just go straight criminal background and be a pure class? Do you want to multi-class them? Do you want to just use feats to fill in the gaps of this character's development and finding different things? Because even if this character doesn't start out as like both smuggler and knight, as a player character, I think it's a great idea for, let's say the players go through a number of different cultures. Maybe this player character is picking up, learning different things as they're going along, almost becoming, they're not a bard, but they're becoming like a bard by learning different things in different places. As everyone says, been reading Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, GGTR. I haven't seen it shortened that way, but it makes perfect sense. And saw House Demir have reasons for choosing a guild to spy on. And one was, I want to join that faction, but no one escapes the Demir. Ooh, yeah, he could be that kind of character. So anyways, that goes on to say, so imagine playing this character who truly wants to be a paladin. Maybe if the Boros Legion or Azorius Senate, they have a chance to be something greater, but every time they feel one step forward, they get a mission to assassinate a target, steal a memory, break a mind, etc. You wonder if this compromises your oath, your dedication to justice, and order. I love that. The classic, every time I try to get out, they keep pulling me back in concept, right? That is a great idea, especially if now you can do this two ways, right? You can play a straight up rogue, straight up backstabbing, stealing, evil rogue, but you're playing the personality as someone who's trying to be a better person and keeps getting new missions, keeps getting pulled back in, keeps falling back on, being forced to fall back on what their expertise is. Or as everyone says, hey, look, a good idea and it's not the last 15 minutes. Yeah, I love it, Zev. Or you could actually go the other way and make a honorable character, go paladin, something like that, and then start playing up the background, say a criminal background, and playing that up, the paladin pulling out the thieves tools, and other players are looking at him like, are you sure you want to do this? Because you've been Bible thumping this whole time, and it's like we've got to break in, and I don't have time to talk to explain my reasons to you guys. Even though inwardly the character's like, I really don't want to do this, but this is the only way. We've got to steal money out of the coffers of the local church or something like that to use this money to bribe an official or something, and then feeling bad about it later as maybe the player is taking a moment to kneel in front of one of the altar to one of the seven gods or something, or what have you, right? Rickard says, I could see like a high wisdom plus charisma variant human persuasion, okay? Druid with the criminal smuggler background. Ooh, Druid. I like Druid. Rickard says, not sure why I want to go Druid instead of cleric, but something about him makes me think a Druid could work. Yeah, absolutely. And often here we go with the stereotypical Druid in a brown or green robe, shape changing and affecting the weather. But maybe okay, follow me on this, right? It's not about controlling the weather and shape changing. It's more or less blending into the environment. So it's not causing storms, but abating storms. It's not causing floods, but it is a ship. Maybe this person was a smuggler. It's about being able to navigate through one of the most treacherous storms in history to get from one place to another. And who's to say a druid can't be a smuggler, right? Maybe this character's nature is nature, but they've only had the life has only given them the opportunity to become a smuggler, and they've never really been able to delve into their natural state. And again, right, wiping off the serial numbers, the the character may not even know that they're a druid. They know they have the skills, they know they have this connection to whatever environment it is, but maybe they're just not a druid. Maybe they're just an urban, what would be the equivalent of like an urban mage in their own mind. And maybe those aren't even skills that they've learned from a mentor. Maybe there's just something they've learned on the street. If they need information for some reason, they pull a rat out of their pocket, and the rat goes down the alleyway and retrieves a small item like a ring or a key or something for them. Or whenever they've run down an alleyway, someone goes to find them, guards chase them down an alleyway, and they see a cat, near a dumpster, and everyone looks around and like, where'd he go? I don't know where he went. And then the cat changes back into himself. And so maybe this character doesn't even know there's a wider druidic order. They were born with it. They learned how to use it, and that's it. Zevron says Shepherd Book from Firefly would be a good example of a government assassin turned cleric. I love that. I love that idea. I love breaking the norms on those kind of things. Rickard says, man, if only there were more fog to hide our approach to the city. Davos, I'm too old for this. For this shit. Fog appears. Exactly. Like this is another thing too that made me. I thought about this the other day. We as the player may know something that the player. I'm sorry. We as the player may know something the character may not. So the player may be making choices like, boy, we could really use fog as cover, whereas the character may not know where it's coming from. That can be a little tricky to role play because you're in essence, you're playing as a player, you're playing someone who knows how the rules work in the game. You already know about spell choices and the dynamics of what the numbers mean, but your character may have absolutely zero idea what's going on. All they know is they trust their instincts, and when they need to sail their small dinghy, packed with ill-gotten goods into the city, and fog appears, they may not even know what's going on, and even it's a possibility maybe even other people don't know. Now, sure, you could have someone go, hey, that fog, you're the one that created that fog, which, yeah, that kind of breaks that's a very simple way of looking at it and going, oh, great, now this secret thing or unique thing my character has now been disrupted. But maybe maybe this character truly never, ever casts a spell ever. It's always coincidence. It's always being prepared. This character is always prepared for what is dream hopefully, but prepare for the worst, or whatever the term is. I can't remember how it goes. I know Dead Man knows it, but you get my point. Where you could play a character, it's the idea of playing like a sorcerer, whereas a player, you're picking spells and things like that. I want to play a chaos sorcerer, so the player does what's optimal, but the character has no idea what's going on. Zevron says, hell, you could use wild shape and turn into a rat to spy on people for the party, or you have a pet spider, a rat that sends messages to others. Oh my God, I just realized that a wizard, Davos, would have issues with the whole literacy thing. You may have a more tribal spell book, a series of magic stones charged with magic showing certain spells. Your wish to learn how to read is not only a societal thing to improve yourself, but and be a normal person, but it's a way to obtain power. Ooh, I like that. And again, why not make a wizard that's illiterate, right? Who's this? Like you said, it could be magic stones. They could be, you could go more shamanistic with the throwing of actual bones. They could be, it could be a puzzle. Maybe this person found a puzzle, like a Rubik's Cube-ish kind of thing. The Hellraiser cube. It could be there could be instead of a language, they could be like cave paintings on the inner skin of an old, like a bear skin or something like that. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to be words. They could just be images, or it could just be meditative. It could be a dreamlike state. Hey, how do you get your spells? Do you read your spell book? Nope. I just breathe in the incense each evening or something. Or I practice katas. I do relaxation. I meditate. I look at nature and study nature and listen to the birds, and the wind talks to me and tells me what I need to know, or something of that nature. There could even be tattoos. Wow, they could be tattoos, brand, scarification, anything. So yeah, spell book. Nah, you don't. Whatever. You don't have to deal with the classic spellbook pointy hat wizard. That's done and over with. That's old. Yeah. Rickard says, "Hope for the best, prepare for the worst." Exactly. Thank you, Mom. When we're trying to both talk and read and think of ideas, sometimes one of those gets lost in the shuffle, dude. Oh man. Zevron says, "You can treat intelligence as more of your potential for arcane power, like in Bloodborne. Arcane is your ability to understand and use powers of the eldritch elder gods, to use their eyes and summon a black sky meteor or a series of tentacles that slam an opponent with tremendous force." Yeah, I mean, and let's be clear. Davos in Game of Thrones is very intelligent. He's illiterate because he didn't have. Not having the knowledge does not make someone stupid. It's just that he didn't have the opportunities. You know, when you're a person who grew up in Flea Bottom, they don't have school teachers. You don't go to school and read books and such, right? I'm sure books are quite rare, if non-existent in Flea Bottom. So, like I said, opportunity, right? If when sat down by a young girl with grayscale and taught how to read, he learned how to read. And along with learning how to read quite quickly, not unreasonably though, but learning how to read quite quickly, he combined that with his own intelligence and his own experiences, and it's like, oh, well, if I read this thing, that means that this other thing, I know what those people are up to. So Rickard says, is he really intelligent or is he wise? I'm going to argue the point that he's both, because he's been able to survive quite expertly using a lot of his common sense and being quite perceptive, game wise and socially. But I also feel he's quite intelligent in the sense that when given knowledge, he doesn't ignore knowledge, right? When given knowledge, he's like, oh, I know what this means, therefore I'm going to use that. And he incorporates that into how he operates. So I feel that he, and it's not an argument like one is good or the other. I just feel that when he's given information, he's the first person to grab that information and run with it. Like, oh, I found out there's White Walkers. You know what? I'm not going to be an asshole and ignore it. I'm going to go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When we go to Bravos and have to, try to arrange for a bank deal to get us some gold, I'm going to use all the information I have. So I think he's a good blend of playing a character who hasn't had a lot of information in front of him as far as educational wise, but the minute it's presented in front of him, he snatches it up. And, logically speaking, him having a high wisdom probably accounts for him being able to raise his intelligence so high so quickly at an older age, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm putting that correctly. Rickard says, he's an interesting example of high intelligence, but the intelligence is not utilized fully. Perfect example would be maybe his just gaming wise, right? Maybe his intelligence is like 13, maybe 14, but as he gains levels, he's been putting points into it as he's learning more things. So that makes a lot of sense, right? Zephyron says, DBJ, if you want good inspiration for magic items, look up on YouTube, Bloodborne, A Call Beyond, Augur of Abriatus, and Black Sky Eye. I'm gonna have to like copy and paste that. I never heard of that. All right, well, I'm going to copy and paste this. Copy. There we go. Dead Man says 18 wisdom, probably 18 wisdom, 16 intelligence. Yeah, I'm with you with that. There's no, the high wisdom's got to be there. There's no way a dude of his age, without being a warrior, gets to survive that long without some serious complications. And he's come out overall. He's come out on top in his life. In a world where criminals and unfortunately the lower classes, the common folk, are pretty much stomped on. So yeah, the fact that he only lost his fingertips and became a knight is pretty much, he's on the positive side of that. So I'm with you on that. The 16 intelligence thing, yeah. I think if given the chance, Davos could be a maester. Like that's how intelligent I think he is, had his life choices been different. So I could see him very much being a maester, having that much knowledge, being able to call up those facts and bring those facts into a very reasonable method in the present day. Yeah. Zev says intelligence, the ability to understand things. Wisdom is the ability to use that info practically. Yeah. As everyone says, yeah. Ebriatus or Ebridius. Ebriatus is an awful name that no one can agree on pronunciation, so don't feel bad. Yeah. I like using all the pronunciations. That way I at least offend one person who says I'm wrong, so I can like kind of mix everyone in there and get them all like triggered. but again, I'm with you guys and Dead Man. Like yeah, we've seen in Game of Thrones where there are plenty of intelligent people who have zero wisdom. There's a lot of the maesters that have do they have 18 intelligence? Yeah. Do they have a lot of wisdom? Not really, because they have not only no motivation to use it, but not even any common sense to use the information that's in front of them. But yeah, I think he's a good combination of those both. And I dare say 15 charisma, 14 to 16, something like that. Yeah. Zevron, Warlock patron, Pact of the Onion. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. One last thing before we get rid of him. All right, guys, we have to, because we do this a lot. Davos is a great character, but we've got to make him an enemy. We've got to make him an adversary. We've got to make this character someone, not necessarily the big bad evil guy, but we got to go down there. Onion Lord, first peel of his name. Yeah. For me, I imagine Davos as an enemy. Okay, follow me on this one. Player characters, first level. Okay, hold on. Sorry, let me go back to this. Rickard says, going by standard array, I would probably be 14 intelligence, 16 wisdom, 14 charisma, going by human. I think that's a great starting point because not only are they high enough and reasonable enough for this character to have survived so long, but as we know, character levels means experience. This character's been around for a long time. The experience of them existing and encountering things, yeah, their charisma, their intelligence, their wisdom is going to pop up. Plus, we're not just talking stats, we're talking skills, right? Insight, persuasion, stealth, sleight of hand. Well, maybe I don't want to go sleight of hand. Ooh, I didn't mean to offend them, but you guys understand what I'm saying. Rickard says, evil Davos, that's hard. All right, follow me on this. Evil Davos, okay? And I know it's hard because the actor's great, the character's great, but imagine player characters start out first level. Let's your typical hobgoblin, goblins, whatever. One or more of them get away, right? One of the evil minor creatures gets away. One of the evil NPCs that you introduced in your game gets away. Maybe they steal something, or they're a thief, or they're like a typical bandit thug. Because you guys know bandits just grow off in trees and whatnot. So bandits growing in the woods. One of them survives. As the players gain levels, this character, this person who maybe wants to exact revenge on the player characters or gains their own things, they start learning at the same rate as the player characters. Maybe this thug ends up joining the military of a rival nation, and they stay there for a while. Then the players move on to another place, and then this person starts serving a shaman and learns some magical skills or something. Like, I could be speaking very widely. I could imagine an evil Davos picking up skills as they're traveling along, either following the player characters or growing at the same rate as the player characters, but not necessarily following them. So when the players go to the east, this character is growing in the west. And every once in a while, the players may hear something about this individual. A royal family member killed, a black market expedition that went wrong, a ship that crashed at sea, and weather, and all these rumors that start combining together. And the thread happens to be someone who is a fixer for the bad people, right? This person who happens to the goblinoid horde needs gold. He can find gold for them. When they need connections, he can find connections for them. This individual could be this person can sneak supplies across enemy lines or something. So you guys are saying, Zevron says, maybe our Davos character is an ally at first, just a friendly NPC. We have talked a bit and have a good rapport. One day the nobles decide to deal with the players. They order Davos to attack them. Since they have a relationship and know their weaknesses better, since they have a relationship and they know their weaknesses better, of course, because the Davos character knows them. The Davos, dedicated to the Lord that raised them, but also punished them, knows the punishment for failure and dedicates themselves to killing the PCs. He may not be as strong as the PCs, but he knows of their family, their homes, hopes, and dreams, anything they told him or around him in passing. First of all, if my character was taken down by someone like that, I would love it. I know a lot of players that would hate that. Like, what? They're not attacking my barbarian directly. They're going after my family, my reputation. Yep. My family and friends. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Go after your weakest part. Rickard says the problem with evil Davos is that he would be a little finger or Tywin. Yeah, I could see that. I could see an evil Davos already exist. They could be an evil, like a Littlefinger or a Tywin. I could see that. Yeah. Yeah, a Littlefinger. I see the problem with that. But again, maybe that's what Littlefinger is. He kind of is the evil Davos, kind of. Yeah. But Rickard says maybe more of a criminal, but same basic archetype. I feel. I'm with you on that. I can't argue against it, and I don't have an argument to be like, well, no, that's not the case. No, I'm with you on that. I do feel that. Rickard says evil fixer. I like that. The goes on to say the PCs don't directly interact with evil Davos, but he sends out people to get things the PCs also need and such. So name comes up often in relation to the big bad, but like a handler. Oh man. So this person could be sending. It's the idea of the evil adventuring group, right? Or maybe it becomes far more personal for the player characters. Like, player characters go into dungeon, player characters meet trolls or giants. giants say, we know who you are, and start calling them by their names. And the players are like, why does this troll know my name? And then this Davos character could, like you said, they never meet him, but this person is always feeding information to other people. Oh, man. I'm going to get to you, Derek. Zevron says, I definitely didn't have a villain knight like that planned. Nope. hides DM binder. yeah. I definitely didn't have a villain knight like that planned. Yeah, right. Exactly. Sorry if the ideas aren't that great. I'm not familiar with the character. Now, you don't need to be familiar. Don't worry about it. You don't need to be familiar. Now, we have somebody, or at least someone that I've first seen. Hey, Derek, what's going on? Derek Cavan says, it's been 20 years since I read Game of Thrones. Time to read it again in the whole series. Yeah, we're of course here talking. We are not judging the series, and we're not talking about our best or worst. What we're doing is we're like picking characters and just like, what can we take and add to our role-playing experience? Whether it's the character as a PC, an NPC, an adversary, that's basically what we're doing in this whole series. So if you see some of the other videos and you see some of the characters, even if you don't like the characters or you don't remember them too well, don't worry about it. You don't need to. It's just, hey, what can we take from Cersei? What can we take from Tywin or Jaime Lannister and that kind of stuff? Leave him alone, Zev. Zevra says, yeah, it's been about 20 years since that old bastard Gurm actually wrote something too. Yeah. Yeah, he's getting there. Although no offense to George R.R. Martin, but some of us are sitting back like, dude, like, not only do I want you to finish writing the books, but could you like eat healthier? Maybe a smoothie every now and again, because we don't want you, dying at all, let alone dying and not finishing a book, which unfortunately happens to be a thing when it comes to really great writers. Oh, that's wrong. He won't pull a Jordan, don't worry. Yeah, maybe an apple once in a while. No, hey, I'm getting his age. Maybe some prune juice, man. Clean out the insides. Oh, Undo, what's going on? Undo says, I think a Davos antagonist would have more honor than Littlefinger. He won't kill people unnecessarily. The PC may have won the fight just to see Davos sailing with the loot. You know what? That's true too, because Littlefinger, okay, just go down that pathway, right? Littlefinger has no problem disposing of people, right? They are complete. They're not just tools, but they're expendable. Whereas maybe an evil Davos feels he's an evil caretaker, if that makes sense. Like, everyone has a purpose. So he may be, like you said, he might have a little bit of honor to it, where really all he is a smuggler. Maybe he lies, cheats, steals, and all that, but he's not a killer. So he could be evil without being a murderer. And sure, murder has to, be accomplished. And maybe in the heat of battle, it's not a big thing, but maybe he's not an assassin, or he doesn't send assassins. Maybe he's just an individual who's like, hey, I just, Indiana Jones, right? Hey, you're going to go in to steal the idol. Great. When you come back out, I'm just going to steal it from you and get out of here. See you guys. Bye. You know what I mean? Like that, that's a possibility too. So to differentiate him from a Littlefinger, yeah, maybe he's just more, maybe he's unscrupulous without being a psychopath, right? And maybe the players don't even see him. Maybe when the players are confronted when they come out of the dungeon and get their treasure stolen, someone says, oh, by the way, Evil Davos says hello, and they throw down a calling card or something, right? I know we're calling him Evil Davos, but that's just shorthand. Everyone says, off topic, but just thought of how to do a villainous Jon Snow and having him appear as a small-time roadblock that soon turns into a big, bad, evil guy. Absolutely. Why not have our bad guys grow with the player characters? Like you said, maybe it's just a small-time roadblock, and then, the typical bandit on the road gets away, and eventually it's like, wait, they've got an army? Wait, they're a lord of their own kingdom. Wait a minute, what? There's some netherworld creature giving them power and fostering, giving them creatures or something? Yeah. Anyway, Rickard says, true, evil Davos would fit in the John Wick universe, continental owner or such, but he follows the rules as they have been laid down. Ooh, I like that. I like that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. In the John Wick universe, if you guys are unfamiliar, which you should be, the Continental is the hotel where these international assassins and spies and hitmen and killers. There are rules for the Continental where there is no killing on continental ground. And yes, they are black marketeers. They deal in guns, probably torture, smuggling, kidnapping, etc. But they have rules. And so this Davos character might actually be a frenemy of sorts. Not friends, not necessarily a true friend, but this character might not really want to kill the player characters, right? Like, he's like, I really don't have anything against you. I just want to steal your stuff, or I want to, my job, I'm hired to make your life a living hell. And the fact that you guys keep getting back up again, I got to give you credit for that. But sorry to say, I still got to steal the golden idol out of your backpack. So yeah, see ya. Gonna have to banish you off to another to another plane of existence. Sorry. Ed the bad onion. I'm gonna. Sorry, I was just thinking of something else here. So everyone says his holy avenger is named Tears of Reprisal, shaped like an onion. Each charge is a layer. Ooh. The onion could have more. It's possible that the onion could have more of an impact on the story. Like that's a possibility too, as you peel back the layers. Yeah, I'm with you, Rickard. I was thinking the exact same thing. I like the idea with the character being layers, having layers. I like that. I like that a lot. Wow. And you know what? Even as an NPC, what Rickard's sister. Oh, yeah, yes. I get. I see what you said. Okay. I'm not going to read it again because you're fine. Zevron says the ancient elven onion artifact, the world ender, first stench of the creation of time. Oh, that's wrong. Although a very easy NPC quirk is for a character to chew on an onion. You want to make an NPC. You want them to be recognizable. They pull an onion out of a pack and start chewing on an onion as they talk to the player characters, and everyone's just like wincing at their breath. So yeah. So guys, we're coming upon the hour. Well, of course we always go over an hour, but anyway, my salutation to you is: let's not measure our hates. Let's not measure our loves by our hates. It seems like there's a lot of that out there now, especially in the fandom community and even amongst tabletop RPGs specifically. So yeah, listen, let's just embrace and be positive and leave at least a couple of spaces for us to just be open and above and embracing the great ideas. And when you see the negative ones, just don't respond, so that we have our own safe space for ourselves. So everyone says instead of biting an apple, they chew on a full onion. That's awful. I love it. Yeah, everybody stay safe with the news of the recent bombings. Yeah, I mean, here in the States, we have drug problems. We have opioid addiction and heroin and fentanyl, but it seems like the drug that's being exported out there in the world that everybody has, gun problems, yeah. But the biggest drug we have today is hate. Hate comes in a whole lot of packages. It crosses lines very easily. People are wrapping themselves up and keeping themselves warm. It's an easy fuel. It is the typical light side, dark side. It is very easy to go that way. So for the few places that exist out there, let's just keep this as our own little safe spot, even if it's for an hour a day. So, guys, everyone have a great one. Again, don't measure your loves by your hates. Have a great one. Take care. Well, Ricker says, take care and see you in the Discord after I've watched episode 2. Yeah. By the way, for those who don't know, down below the video, join the Discord, like, share, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. I'm just a conduit. If you want to talk to people who are brilliant and intelligent and forthright, join the Discord. Talk to them, man. They've got a lot more ideas than I do. Have a great one. See ya. Bye.